exclusive content from the In the Money Media YouTube channel, PTF, back with a woman who we turn to for a lot of different things around here. Huge fan of racing, both domestic and internationally. Loves her video games. She also loves pedigrees, and we have her here today to take a too early look potentially into some of these Derby pedigrees for some key contenders. We've asked her to curate a few, but before we get to that, Alex, how you doing? Do you have Derby fever yet?
Hey Pete, thanks for having me. I totally have too early Derby fever, but don't we all? It's just anything to get away from the snow, the ice in the Midwest and the East Coast this time of year. Anything to thaw our cold hearts out. So we think to the first Saturday of May.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. Well, we're going to start off here with the first horse you mentioned. And this is one who it's almost like the way I have the screen now, it's like guess that horse because I don't have it at the top. But there he is, John Hancock, lightly raced, shown a ton of talent. I had questioned about the distance for this one before his last test. He passed that one. Ultimately will be pretty interesting to see how this cleverly named son of Constitution out of Scribbling Sarah wants to go, but very curious to hear what your opinion is. What is it about this pedigree you found notable?
Yeah, I thought he was super gutty in the Sam F. Davis last weekend for Brad Cox, really gunning down Owen Almighty. Poster, after kind of lagging back, got up for third, but it was really all about John Hancock and that grit that he showed. And truly no surprise there. Son of Constitution, Constitution himself having won his share of races. But let's talk about Tis the Law, of course, the Belmont and Travers winner. This True Nix rating for Constitution and a Freud mare is rated A++ with a pretty low inbreeding coefficient of about 2%. The only other horse of note on that cross, despite the really high True Nix rating, is a stakes winner called Love in the Air, born in 2018, a winner of the Miss Penny and the Plum Pretty Stakes in 2022 over 8.5 furlongs. But really, the discussion comes on his dam side. So John Hancock's dam, Scribbling Sarah, as you mentioned, is actually quite the interesting mare. She's foaled a mare that you may remember, a pretty hard-knocking campaigner called Speech. She herself by Mr. Speaker, so Speech is a half to John Hancock, and she won the Grade 1 Ashland. So this family actually has quite the black type, even though Speech didn't do too much after winning the Ashland. No one can ever take that Grade 1 status away from her, and adds that family class. She was sent herself over to Japan to begin a broodmare career, so we'll be looking forward to see what types of foals she produces. As far as any other offspring out of Scribbling Sarah, just a couple others. Uphold the Law was a 2018 gelding by Upstart, won 4 of 8 starts, a winner of a little over 125,000. Nothing black type there, but just some consistency there in the family. If you keep looking back in that pedigree, Scribbling Sarah is a full sibling to a mare called Amazing Anne, who was restricted stakes place, and also Deciphering Dreams, who was Grade 3 placed herself. And that Grade 3 placing came in the Pilgrim Stakes over 8.5 furlongs on turf. Looking back on the dam line side further, Third Dam Holy Wish was quite the producer, produced 4 black type foals, including the 2008 Grade 3 Discovery Handicap winner, and the 2009 Kings Point Handicap winner, Wishful Tomcat. Also versatile black type winner, Uncle T Steven. 7, excuse me, Uncle T 7, yes, who won from 6 furlongs to 9 furlongs, so pretty versatile as well. So, we had questions before the Sam F. Davis. I think this family will carry him far. Again, no questions on the sire side with Constitution on top. But even dam side, I think that there's plenty of bottom to carry him throughout the Derby prep season and to the Derby if hopefully he makes it there.
Yeah, there's more to bottom line it a little bit, more distance than you might think at first glance. And what we've seen on the track certainly keeps that hope alive. when we have a longer show, I'm going to drill down. Somebody out there is saying, what's a true Nick? What is this coefficient she's talking about? We don't have time for it here, but I promise in a longer conversation, we'll get a chance to dive into some of these things Alex is looking at. But to bottom line it for the audience, she does the work, so we don't have to. Let's move on to the next horse we're going to talk about on this video. And this is one I personally am very high on. When I made my Derby list, my way too early first Derby list back in November, I actually had this horse number 1, Sovereignty. Very curious to get your expert opinion of what you think we might be able to expect from this one as the time goes farther and the distances get longer.
Yes, so I'm also very excited about this colt. Sired by Into Mischief. This sire needs no introduction. The venerable, the great, the honorable Into Mischief, out of a mare called Crowned by Bernardini. We remember Sovereignty as an impressive winner of the Grade 3 Street Scent Stakes at the end of last year at Churchill Downs by 5 lengths. So really hoping his 3-year-old form backs that right up. Again, Into Mischief really, needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. He has several colts and fillies as well on the Derby Oaks Trail for 2025. Not limited to Barnes, who we'll talk about up next, Citizen Bull, and on the filly side, Eclatant. This is a True Nicks rating that is not as strong as John Hancock or some others we'll talk about today. The rating is only considered a B, and that rating is primarily carried of all horses by Grade 3 stakes winner Owendale. If we remember Owendale, hard-knocking Derby collector, winner of the Ohio Derby, Oklahoma Derby, the Blame Stakes, Lexington Stakes. Also, Cyclone Mischief is on this cross. I mentioned Cyclone Mischief. We saw him win on January 26th at Allowance from Gulfstream. So he's rounding into a pretty promising 5-year-old season. I'm excited to see how he comes on after being a little bit disappointing after, taking on a lot as a 3-year-old and not really finding much form besides one win last year as a 4-year-old. So really looking to see how he comes on. But on the dam side, it's pretty interesting. So Crowned herself, born in 2013, again by Bernardini, out of an Empire Maker mare called Mushka. This mare was unraced, so untested, completely unraced, but she certainly looked expensive as she was a Pennsylvania bred that cost $1.2 million in the 2014 Keeneland September sale, sold to former Godolphin bloodstock lead John Ferguson back then. She possibly has had some producing difficulties, has only foaled one other winner, despite having 3 total foals, including 2 other full siblings to Sovereignty, both by Into Mischief, but Sovereignty definitely her best to date. I really want to pick up on a stamina conversation on the second dam side. So starting with the Crown's dam Mushka. So Mushka, again, as I said, by Empire, I didn't mention quite yet, but by Empire Maker, out of a mare called Sluice, who is by Seeking the Gold. I really wanted to mention this pedigree because it's rare we see these marathon brood mares, these marathon mares and fillies producing black type and becoming influences for stamina in the US. It's really like a European thing, but it delights me to see this here. So Mushka won the 11 furlong Grade 3 Glen Falls handicap. She also performed well in the Spinster as well, winning that. It's Grade 1. Also winning the Grade 2 Demoiselle Stakes. And then she finished second to Life is Sweet in the 2009 Breeders' Cup Ladies Classic, which is no longer a race anymore, but still, when it was the Ladies Classic, it was a hard-knocking race. So we can see that Mushka really loved that route of brown when she was racing. And I think that'll just factor beautifully into the Into Mischief on top. Also, the Bernardini on Crown sire side leading into AP Indy, that Cara Raffaella, that was beautiful black type that comes from the Bernardini side. I think that blend will come out beautifully and will just provide Sovereignty with the bottom he needs as the distances get longer. And hey, if the Derby doesn't work out for this colt, I would love to bet him back in the Belmont with Mushka's love of root of ground there. So really interesting pedigree.
Yeah, you got your speed, you got your stamina, you talked about Into Mischief, of course, part of that great family that includes Mendelssohn and, of course, Beholder, and all that speed coming from the top, all that stamina from the bottom. This is sort of a classic pedigree. One of the reasons why I was dreaming Derby on Sovereignty so early. Let's pivot and talk about Barnes for a minute here. We had a feeling from the name they chose for this horse that he was going to be a good one. He was the horse that broke the Baffert drought as it was at Churchill Downs. Another one by Into Mischief. And then we've got American Pharoah on the damn side of the pedigree out of this All-American Dream is Barnes. What do you think about this one from a pedigree perspective?
Yeah, so of course, Into Mischief, we already went through his laudations, gave him his flowers. So truthfully, no need for introduction for Into Mischief this time around. But I really wanted to speak about Barnes because of the American Pharoah of it all. Bob hasn't really had an American Pharoah or a colt grandsired by American Pharoah that has been really exciting. He's had some nice justifies, but as far as the American Pharoah of it all, I would love to see him get a classic winner this year, and Barnes could be the one to do it. Fingers crossed, knock on wood for sure. Speaking about Barnes's dam side, there isn't a whole lot to report except for just a couple of minor notes. All American Dream is of course being by American Pharoah was out of an AP Indy mare called AP Dream. While AP Dream wasn't really a big winner, she broke her maiden and that was about it. She was a half to AP Candy, who in turn is the dam of Sheeta Booty, who won the Busher Stakes and is by Practical Joke. Also won the Distaff Handicap as well several years ago. So it's pretty interesting. The family does kind of appear distance limited on paper, which is why I'm really excited for this American Pharoah influence to hopefully come through. And that sprint influence comes from the third dam, Dream Supreme, a millionaire, a grade 1 winner, just an absolute torrent of a sprinter in her day. She ended up foaling, Dream Supreme ended up foaling a full brother to AP Dream called Majestic Warrior, if you've maybe heard of him. Grade 1 winner, hopeful winner back in the day. Now he's a sire in Japan now, but he didn't leave before leaving behind Princess of Silmar, who won the Kentucky Oaks. So we know that family has ability to infuse stamina. It just hasn't quite come out yet in the perfect combination, besides Princess of Silmar and some other, recent, more minor prize winners. But I'm hoping with the American Pharoah on top, and then bringing in that speed from Dream Supreme as the third dam, again, blending with Into Mischief speed and stamina as well. I'm really hopeful that Barnes can relax and learn to carry that speed around of ground.
We're going to learn a lot more in this next round of preps. We know that for sure. Let's get to one that looked so promising last year and is finally making the return to the races this weekend. Talking about East Avenue, well publicized, bad trip in the juvenile, but now comes back. Very interesting from a pedigree point of view. You see Medaglia d'Oro there on the sire side. Dance Music, who was by Ghost Zapper on the dam side. What's your gut about this pedigree? How far does this one want to go? Or do you think that the class in this pedigree matches the potential we've seen on the track for this Godolphin runner?
This horse excites the heck out of me. Class up the wazoo. Oh my goodness. So I'll bring back the Trunix rating. He's an A++. In fact, Trunix.com was trying to call me on the phone asking if I own Dance Music to breed to Medaglia d'Oro because the Nix rating was so good. It was like, if you're an investor, please call us right now. This is a very exciting breeding. And I'm like, no, I'm much too poor for that. But great cross. Again, Medaglia d'Oro with the Ghost Zapper, as you mentioned, Ghost Zapper mare. East Avenue is the best foal from this cross. Second best is grade 3 stakes winner Prevalence. who was a sprinter. I do recognize his best running came under a mile, but really want to talk about the dam side. It's blessed are the broodmares, right? Our matriarchs. And I would love to talk about dance music and from her side, dance card. So if you remember a little pedigree note on dance card, she was a grade 1 winner in her own right, won the grade 1 Gazelle and the Belle Cherie Stakes at 3, performed very well at 4 to finish 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and also finished well in the grade 2 Gallant Bloom. And she produced a little bay colt in 2018 by Curlin. If you just remember the name Cody's Wish, if it rings a bell for anyone, that was her colt. So again, second dam as the dam of Cody's Wish. So that's class all over the place. I still maintain that if that 2023 Saratoga track was playing fair on Whitney Day, Cody's Wish would have given a much better account of himself. I think they just wanted to preserve him that day. The track was a little strange that year, to say the least. So I'm just glad he got home safely in the Whitney. That was a couple of years ago, but he certainly didn't embarrass himself over 9 furlongs. And I say that because you saw the way he finished. Not that the horses were finishing with an exceptional amount of flourish at the end of the two editions of the Breeders' Cup Mile that he won, versus Cyberknife and National Treasure. But it's kind of the way he did it. He didn't give up, was gutsy as heck and just fought the entire way through. When a horse shows that tells me that the stamina meter isn't 100% by any means depleted at the end of the race, and he probably could get another furlong if he was able to sit and kind of relax and have things a little bit more his own way. So I still maintain that Cody's Wish could have gone the 9 furlongs, maybe the 9.5, maybe even the 10 if things got wild. But regardless, that family is just full of class. Dance music was unraced, doesn't really have anything to speak of. But I'm really resting all of my hopes on dance card, East Avenue's second dam for all of that class. And also note the third dam, so the dam of dance card, Tempting Note, also has some black type to her name. She foaled Tempted to Tap It by Tap It, who finished second in the 2010 Risen Star Stakes and third in the Sunland Derby that same year. And she herself was second to Island Sand in the 2004 Busanda Stakes over 8.5 furlongs. So there are some more route mile plus influences on that dam side. I love looking at the dam line. So all that pink on the bottom side of the pedigree to see exactly how much influence we can expect there to be from the females in the family. But East Avenue, I'm going to chuck the Breeders' Cup Juvenile out. I saw that race live, and he just looked all covered in mud and washed up, coming home 9th of 10th in that race. So I'm going to give him another shot, and I think he'll give a good count of himself. I'm confident.
Yeah. Just a question of if he's going to be ready to go 9 off the break. That's my slight concern, but we'll see how he ends up getting on. This has been so much fun. We're going to have to do it again. We should give a plug to the Pedigree Query website that we were showing the screenshots of. An important tool in your handicapper's toolbox, Alex?
A profoundly important tool. I've been using it, date myself, since I was a little kid, since I was 20 years ago, honestly. It's been a free resource for so many pedigree nerds like me and our friends, and it's just a fantastic resource. They do have a paid version that includes a little bit more information and a little bit more sorting details, which is great to use as well. But the free version is great too. Great to use.
Terrific. Good stuff. Folks should check it out. Also check out inthemoneypodcast.com, where hopefully Alex might be doing some pedigree writing for us. I know for sure you're going to get free daily tips and analysis for racetracks all over the country, as well as links to various videos and shows. This, as we mentioned, exclusive to the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to the In the Money YouTube channel to get that. And let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know what you thought of this video. Bit of a departure for us. Do you want to see more pedigree analysis on here? Should we stick to giving tips? I think it's all of it and more, but we want to know what you think. And we'd love to know what you think from a pedigree perspective about these horses too. Who's going to get that 10 furlongs on the first Saturday in May? For Alex, I'm PTF. Thanks so much for watching the In the Money Media YouTube channel.